Well, Merry Christmas to each of you. We are incredibly thankful that you're with us on this day, that in the midst of the hustle and bustle that you made time to come and worship with us today. For our family members and to guests and friends, we're incredibly thankful that you're here, that you avoided all those long lines at Walmart, Target, and North Park Mall, and you came to church and you got right to your seat. Amen. Ain't you thankful? No fighting for a parking spot. Well, kind of, sort of, but you're here, and so we are thankful that you're here. And Christmas is just a couple days away. Christmas Eve tomorrow, Christmas on Tuesday. And we are thankful that you've come by to worship the Lord and to remember that He truly is the reason for the season, that of Jesus Christ. Amen, somebody. Amen. If you have your Bibles, you can meet me in the book of John, chapter 8. I just want to lift up just a few words. I pray encourages your heart and sets your mind as we continue in the midst of this holiday season. It's so easy to be distracted by so many things, but I want to lift up one particular verse for our hearts and minds today. John chapter 8, verse 12 reads this way. John 8, verse 12. When Jesus spoke again to the people, He said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Amen. For just a few moments, I want to share from the subject of the light of the world. The light of the world. Friends, we live in a dark world. Financial difficulty, cancer, sickness, abuse, pornography, murder, disease. Broken families, addictions, alcoholism, incarceration, divorce, suicide, depression, hopelessness, drugs, crimes, hate, and even loneliness. We live in a dark world, and it seems at times that we are surrounded by darkness. Matter of fact, Satan, the ruler of this world, attempts to make every day as dark as possible. Matter of fact, this is not the first time that we've ever seen darkness. The first time the darkness shows up is in the book of Genesis chapter 1, where the Bible says that the earth was dark and empty and void. But all of a sudden in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, God starts speaking and says, let there be light. And light shows up. But it's not long after that in Genesis chapter 3 where Adam and Eve sin and darkness comes right back. And ever since the fall of Adam and Eve, you and I have been wrestling with darkness every single day. If you don't believe me, just turn on the local news report and you'll see a report after report after report of dark situations. It is this darkness that sometimes can overwhelm us. Darkness is not only a scene that we see in the lives of others, but sometimes it can show up in your life. That's what's happening in John chapter 8 when we meet this woman that has been caught in adultery. Matter of fact, she's been caught, but the text says we don't know where the man is. They just dragged the woman in, and then they say, what are we supposed to do with her? They all have stones in their hand because the law decreed that a woman caught in adultery would be stoned. But all of a sudden in this dark situation, Jesus begins to speak, and He says these words, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows after me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Matter of fact, He says this, he who has not sinned, you can throw the first stone. And as they begin to walk away, this woman that had been caught in a dark moment is now introduced to Jesus in a new way. And He says it this way, I am the light of the world. Friends, I don't know if you understand it or not, but sometimes when you consider all the darkness around us, it is a reminder that we need Jesus, who is the light of the world. Can you say that with me? Say, I need Jesus. I mean, this is the reality that whenever you see darkness, it's a reminder that we need His light. Jesus says this way, I am the light of the world. That word I, it simply means I and I alone. When He says, I am the light of the world, it's referring to the unique power that Jesus is not just another person. No, Jesus is also God. In John chapter 1, he talks about that when the light comes, it will illuminate, it will show. In John chapter 3, he talks about, I am the light that will come into the world. Matter of fact, when Jesus in John chapter 8, the reason Jesus is talking about himself being the light, that they had this ceremony called Feast of the Tabernacles. And it was this at this very time that he's teaching this. The Feast of the Tabernacles, they would put up these large candelabras at the temple. And they would worship and dance all night because they were grateful for how God had delivered them. It was a reminder of how they wandered through the wilderness, and God would set a cloud that would light their way everywhere that they went. And so now Jesus is saying to them, just like God led you then, I've come now to lead you now. He is the light of the world. What does it mean that he's the light? How does that impact us? Here it is. I'm the light that guides you. In the midst of the darkness in which we live, Jesus is the light. He is the source that gives us direction. He is the source that gives us hope. First of all, I am the light that guides you. Light guides. See, in the time in which they lived, light was especially important to them. They lived in a world where they didn't have electricity. They didn't walk in a room and flip a switch. They didn't walk into their cars and turn on the lights. No, they had lanterns that they had to use. And one lantern would light up an entire house. And for them, light was incredibly essential. It's like you. If you got family in the country like we do, you understand that the country is a different type of situation than in the city. In the city, there's lights and Dallas, everything. But when you get to the country, you can't see anything because it's dark. It's dark. That's the kind of world in which they lived in. It was dark where they were. And so lights were incredibly important. And so when Jesus says, I am the light, he is saying, I am the light that guides you. Okay, have you ever tried to drive at night without your headlights on? Somebody will flash you or they will pull you over because without lights, you don't really know where you're going. You can't see what's in front of you. You don't know what's coming around the corner. But when you have lights, you can see. He says, I am the light that guides you. And I want you to know that Jesus Christ is the light that guides you. There's no way you can get to the relationship with God that God longs for you without Jesus guiding you. He's your light when you don't know what to do and you can't find your way. Somebody can look back over your path of 2018 and you can see evidence that he has been the light that has directed your path over and over and over and over and over again. He has lit up things and he has directed you. He's the light that guides you. Do you know that ultimately the reason that he lights up the path, that he wants you to have a growing and a flourishing relationship with Jesus Christ? And I pray that in the midst of this holiday season, that perhaps the thing that you rediscover is the importance of having a relationship with Jesus Christ and how that transforms your life and how that inspires your life. Psalm 119 says this, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. That Jesus is the light that guides you through life. Is that your prayer today? That perhaps your prayer is, God, would you guide me today? Is that your prayer? Is there someone in the room that's dealing with a dark situation or a dark season, or perhaps even in the midst of the holidays where people seem to be joyous and happy, you're dealing with a dark moment in your own life? But I came by to remind you that Jesus is the light that can guide you back to your joy, guide you back to your peace, and guide you despite the darkness that around you. He is the light that will guide you. My father was a mechanic, and as a mechanic, he would often, he had a couple of goals. He never took anything anywhere. He fixed it himself. He said, I'm not paying them that money because I can fix that myself. So he would fix cars. His goal was to train me so that when my car broke down, I could fix it myself and not take it. That didn't work out too well. I haven't jacked up a car in a long time, but he had a goal. He loved to fix things, but often what he would do is he would yell out, Brian, I need you to come here. And he would call me there to hold the lights. And that was my job. I didn't know what to do, but I would just sit there. He would tell me where to put the light and where to position the light. But my task was to hold the light. Whether it was 10 minutes or 15 minutes, he said, son, I need you to hold it. You hold it while I fix it. You hold it while I do the work. You hold it and watch me do what only I can do. And sometimes, friend, even when you can't even understand what you're going through, when you hold up the light of Jesus Christ, when you remember who he is and what he does and let God work, he can do more work than you can. You keep holding up his light and watch God work in your life. I am the light. I am the light that guides. But number two, I am the light that reveals. I am the light that reveals. It reveals. Light causes darkness to run away. Light and darkness can't occupy the same spot. And so the light is a metaphor for how he reveals things. You understand, if you put up lights at your home, that immediately deters crime. Because criminals don't like light lit places. They like darkness. In the same way, sin loves dark places. Yeah. Sin, your temptation likes to show up when nobody else is around. Temptation likes to get the best of this. Darkness seems to bring out the worst. But there's something about the light that the light is like an X-ray that shows real motives and real desires and real people. And the light shows up. He says, I'm the light that reveals. Jesus has come to reveal some stuff. He comes to take the cover off. He comes to show where stuff really is. You can't be in the presence of Jesus and not feel naked and ashamed, and because you begin to understand that I may have gotten away with it to somebody else, but you have revealed to me that I've got some work to do. Light reveals. It shows us our motives, and it shows us our inadequacies, and it shows us our weaknesses, and it shows us our fallacies. And we might fool some of the people some of the time. But something about the light of Jesus Christ, that it makes you look in the mirror and see yourself for who you are. That makes you recognize I'm a sinner and I'm broken, and Lord, I need you more and more every day. Perhaps the arrival of Jesus and remembering him ought to be a time for you to check your heart. Perhaps it's a time for you to check your motives and check your ways and check your attitude and check how you treat people and check how you talk to your family and check your pridefulness. Maybe this is what he wants to do this season. Maybe the light has shown up because you, like me, are broken and fallen, and we make mistakes and we let people down and we hold grudges far too long and we have attitudes with people. And when the truth of the matter, if Jesus would come through 42 generations to come and save a sinner like you and me, then truly we could forgive somebody that didn't speak to us, owe us some money, or didn't act the way he did. Even truly, have you examined your heart lately? Have you said, Jesus, would you use your light like a X-ray to examine my mind, to examine my heart, to examine my attitude, and say, Lord, make me more like you? And this is what he said. Light, it directs you. It shows you where you need to go, but light also reveals, here's the last one and I'm done. I am the light that hopes. Light gives you hope. Light. It's hard to be in a dark place. If you don't remember, I want you to remember a name, Dan Woolley. Dan Woolley knows what it's like to be in a dark place. I was there in that dark place. He's found himself in January of 2010. Dan Woolley was there in Haiti doing mission work there, working from Compassion International, when all of a sudden a horrendous earthquake landed. And that earthquake, it totally shook his world. He was in the lobby of his hotel. And not before long, there he was, buried beneath the surface of so much rubble and damage. And there he was in a dark place. He was in a dark place, and it was so dark that all that he had was his cell phone. That somehow or another was able to be charged, and so he had his cell phone, and he had suffered cuts and broken arm, and somehow he got on his cell phone and was able to figure out how to treat himself in the midst of his dark situation. It was so dark and so hopeless that he had his journal nearby, and he began to write letters to his children. He began to write letters to his wife, and he said it this way: I was in a big accident. Don't be upset at God. He always provides for his children, even in hard times. I'm still praying that God will get me out, but he may not. But he will always take care of you. And there in the midst of that dark situation, he began to wrestle with the reality of the situation that he may never get out. And sometimes someone in the room, you can relate because you know what it's like to be surrounded by darkness. You know what it's like when you can't afford to buy anything. You know what it's like when there's brokenness in the home. You know what it's like to have strained relationships. You know what it's like to have issues on your job. You know what it's like to have a loved one that may be incarcerated. You know what it's like to have to go to a hospital to celebrate Christmas. You know what it's like to have to go to a funeral home to celebrate. You know what it's like that when the holidays don't turn out like you thought they ought to be. It's not like it's on TV. There are moments and times when darkness can surround you. And I know you look good on Sunday morning, but someone in the room understand that there are moments and scenes where life can be dark. You can't post about that stuff. You can't tweet about that stuff. There's some stuff you just got to live through. As you miss family members that have gone home, as you deal with financial difficulty, as you deal with your own life struggles, and as this man is trapped there, he says, maybe he'll rescue me and maybe he won't. It was dark in that place, but when you keep reading the story, somehow or another, it wasn't after the first day, it wasn't after the second day, it wasn't after the third day, but somehow on the fourth day, while he was in a dark place, somebody began to pick their way through. He began to knock and they began to come in, and he was rescued, and the light shined in, and he was rescued from a dark place. Light means there is hope. And what I love about this path, he says, if you follow after me, you'll never walk in darkness. It's a reminder to you, friends, that life may get dark sometimes, but when you follow Jesus Christ, when Jesus is the light of the world, it means that you're not the source of the light, which means that the light is not just in you, but the reason you have light is because you are plugged up to the power source. See, when you get light at your house is not the source of that light. The only reason you got power at your house is because you paid your bill, and the electric company sent you some power, and they sent you light, and you got light because you're connected to the ultimate power source. The only reason you got light in your life is not because you got everything together. It's not because you got everything figured out. It's not because you've been good and went to school and have done everything right. No. The only reason you can have light despite the craziness of your life, despite the ugliness of your life, despite the darkness of your life, is that a long time ago you hooked up to Jesus, and Jesus is the light of the world, and his light keeps shining in you despite what you go through. I came by to tell somebody this morning, keep on shining, friend. Don't you let the darkness of life make you quench your fire, but you keep on shining. Even if you got to dim it all the way down to save your battery, you keep on shining. Even if nobody else is shining, you keep on shining. Even if people don't get it, you keep on shining. Even if they don't talk to you and they put their nose up to you, even if they don't invite you to their party, you keep on shining. Even if it's you by yourself at home on Christmas Day, you sit there, eat your food, and say, Lord, thank you for seeing me through 2018. Lord, thank you for shining in my life. I came by to tell somebody, keep on shining, friend. That Jesus is the light of the world. You don't shine based on how many likes you get on Facebook or how many people follow you or what your title is at work. No, you shine because Jesus has been too good to you. He is the light of the world. He's come to give you life and to give you future and to remind you, I don't care where you've been, your future is greater than your past. You ought to thank him that he is the light of the world. Yes, he is. He is the light of the world, friend. He's like, Lord, would you stand with me all over this room? Because I want to invite you to join me in just a few moments of prayer. Because sometimes, even in a holiday season like this, you need to be reminded to keep on shining. That he came as a baby. He came as the light of the world so that you can not no longer walk in darkness. But now the light is in you. Which means no matter what comes your way, the light is still in you. Nobody can take it from you. Nobody can dim it because it came from Jesus Christ himself. I want to invite you right now, if you don't mind, just to bow your head right where you are. And I want you just to go to God and thank him for that light that he's placed in your life. And I want you to say, Lord, I'm going to keep shining. Lord, I'm going to keep shining. Thank you that you're the light. And every time I see a light, it's a reminder that you've put it in me. Come on, would you talk to God all over this room together? Come on, would you talk to him today?